Hello and welcome to the Feminine as Fuck podcast. I'm your host, Monica Yates, a period and women's life coach, where I help women to harness the power of their period and connect back to their true superpowers. In these episodes, we'll be talking about all things periods, vaginas, hormones, women's health, sex, confidence, food, femininity, and all the stuff that goes through our heads. You will walk away from each episode with new nuggets and truth bombs, as I don't seem to have a filter and I love talking about all the shit that people are too afraid to say, but everyone is thinking. Hello, everyone. Well, this is crazy. Bit of a change of scenery here. I'm currently sitting underneath my doona on my bed to hopefully not get any echo for you guys because I don't have some full pro setup system yet because I literally decided 5 days ago that I was going to actually bite the bullet and start a podcast. If you know me, if you follow me on Instagram, if you don't, you should. My handle is at Monica Yates Health. And if you've been following me for a while and you're an OG subscriber, not subscriber, what the fuck, follower. But like, I don't even like to say follower because it's not like, you guys aren't sheep. Anyway, whatever. You will know that I've been asked for a long time, I'd say nearly about a year now, to do a podcast because I like talking, as you would gather. I am quite the talkative person. I am Little Miss Chatterbox. Anyway, and I just kind of bit the bullet because I was like, you know what? I'm able to reach out to a broader audience, which is amazing because my goal is just to be able to help as many women as possible and change as many lives as possible. And also it means that you guys can listen to me more on the go because I realize that YouTube videos and stuff are fab and I love doing them and I will continue to do so. But two reasons. One, you can't download a YouTube video, so you have to use your 4G. And like, let's be real, we don't all have endless amounts of 4G. So that's like a real problem for majority of us. I know it is for me. And then an Instagram Live, it runs out, same thing. It's a video, you have to sit down and watch it. You can't like pause it and shit. So that also becomes a little bit annoying. And then also just for me, like I have to look like not done up fully because I always jump on Instagram stories when I'm like looking pretty gross. But I need to look kind of presentable in order to be on camera. And if you know me, you know that sometimes I am just not the most presentable person to be around. Anyway, this is great because now it can be like 10 p.m. at night and I can be, if I get a spur of inspo, I can chat to you guys, which is fantabulous. Anyway, I'm going to jump straight into it and not talk too much about but fuck nothing. Just a little FYI that I can guarantee that every single episode is going to have swearing in it. So if you are offended by swearing, then I'm definitely not your girl because I was actually saying this to a new client the other day that when you swear, the moment that you swear, it actually cuts your ego out of your mind. So it actually allows you to just like snap into the present moment for a second. And that's why a lot of coaches and a lot of personal development people actually use it because it actually cuts you out of the sort of cycles that your brain is in of like, oh, poor me. When someone says fucking shut up, you're like, whoa. And just for that 1 second, you've actually snapped yourself out of it. So that's a little behind the reasons for why I do it, but also because that's just my personality. I am very, very real, very no bullshit, a bit cutthroat, and I don't beat around the bush, which you will find, you'll kind of figure that out in these episodes. Anyway, the first episode that I'm doing, as in the one right now that you are listening to, I'm just doing a little intro. I'm going to tell you guys about my story for two reasons. One, because I want you guys to be able to sort of feel like you know me and then you can understand the references that I talk about further on, but also because apparently when you set up a podcast, you need to like have your first thingy to like test it out or something or other. And if you don't have your first episode, then it can get like they won't put it up. I don't know, something random like that. So I was like, let's just be on the safe side and do this properly, Monica. Couple things to know about me. I often talk in third person. I often say Monica does this or like, hi, Monica, or like, Monica, you are dumb. And another thing is that I talk really, really fast. So everyone says that about me. If you can't understand me, you might need to actually slow down your settings on your podcast. For me, I actually speed everybody up because I find everybody to be like a slow talker. But you might actually need to slow me down because I am quite the fast talker. However, this is going to be a great experience for me because I'm going to try and practice at talking a little bit slower. However, I always have a lot to say in a short amount of time. So we've already gone to like 4 minutes and 36 seconds or something since the intro. So, okay. Let's start it from the very beginning, shall we? We'll start at the very beginning. Okay. So long story short, I was born in Melbourne. And then when I was really, really tiny, like don't even remember it, like fucking baby, not walking yet, but screaming apparently. Actually, mum said I was a pretty good kid. I don't know. Anyway, we moved to New York City. So I grew up in New York, absolutely loved it. And that's why I'm moving to New York at the end of the year. I'm going there in a couple of months to do some talks and to LA as well. New York just has my heart. When people say, why are you moving there? It's honestly like, it's a bit of an I don't know answer. And that's not because I don't know. My answer is, I just feel so at home there. I don't really feel 100% at home anywhere else. I don't really feel like I belong in any other city, but I really feel like I belong in New York. And one time I was doing some like deep subconscious work and actually saw my youngest version I've ever seen of myself. I can remember my earliest memories, like 5 years old, when I was like ice skating on like the frozen creek. But then I was doing some subconscious work with a coach, and I remember being like really tiny, like 3 years old, standing outside this deli on the Upper West Side. Mum was inside. It was almost like I was a dog, to be honest, on the footpath waiting for my owner, whatever, a bit random. And I was looking at my mum, but I would like, as me, the older version, I was looking at my little young self, and she was wearing like a pink dress and she had a Madeline hat on. I used to be obsessed with Madeline anyway. And I looked at her and she said to me, if you want to find me again, you need to come back here. And for a lot of us, we're always just trying to connect back to our inner child, because our inner child is pure joy, pure happiness, pure love. It is so pure, and we are born perfection. We are born without any conditioning and stuff. And it's the stuff that we learn over time that then is what adds to the layers of the onion. So it's all about peeling back those layers to come back to the core, and your core is your soul and your inner child and stuff. And that, oh my God, my neck is getting so sore from holding my doona up. I'm going to have to work out another way to do this. And that's sort of another reason why it was actually just more, this happened to me last year, and it was actually more just like an affirmation of like, right, I need to get my ass there ASAP. I already decided I was moving there beforehand, but it was kind of like a when I'm ready. And ready often means when you are like super financially stable, because, money's a big block for most people. Me included, I work through it every day. Anyway, so I'm moving to New York end of the year, whatever. So I grew up in New York, lived there. So most of my first memories and everything is there, are from there. Then I moved to Sydney, Australia. Then we moved to Melbourne for a bit, and then I'm back in Sydney. So right now I'm in Sydney. Love Sydney, love Melbourne, but nothing compares to New York City. Anyway, so that's sort of like my growing up bit. My sort of story in terms of like how I got to where I am, I never knew that I was going to do this. If somebody said to me in year 12, Monica, you're going to teach women about their periods and talk about sex and femininity and like just do all that sort of like counseling brain stuff, I would have been like, that's the weirdest thing ever. And ew, who the fuck wants to talk about periods? Because I was not obsessed with periods or anything like that when I was younger. But little did I know, here I am. So when I was in school and stuff, what I always wanted to be was, when I was little, I wanted to be a pop star. And then as I grew up, I was going to, be a businesswoman. I was going to do my Bachelor of Commerce at Melbourne Uni. I'd gotten into like the top RMIT program for fashion design. I was very, very into sewing and fashion, and I still love sewing, and I was really talented at that. But and I thought that was my thing, But actually, Mum said to me a couple of years later, once I found my period stuff, she was like, I deep down knew that wasn't your thing, but I obviously wasn't going to tell you that because we all need to go on our own journey, which was good of her. Anyway, so the reason how I got to where I am right now was I was on my gap year, and I'd been doing my ski instructor course in Whistler, having an absolute ball. Like, oh my God, it was the most fun thing ever. Then I moved to London, and I was really bored one day, and I walked all the way into, what's that big department store in London called? I think it starts with S. I can't remember. Anyway, I went in there and I bought Sarah Wilson's I Quit Sugar cookbook. And my mum had like talked about her, and she'd done the 8-week program and everything. And I used to have a serious addiction to fruit, to the point where like my mum would ban me from grapes because I would be so violently ill from eating too many of them. Anyway, and she, said to me, like, maybe you should like slow down on the fruit, like it's too much sugar. And I was like, no, it's natural sugar. There's no such thing as too much fruit. Well, little did I know. Anyway, so I sat down and read this book, literally the whole book in one day, in London, made a ton of notes. And from that day forward, quit sugar and very, very rarely eat it. And it will usually be some fruit as a treat. Like I never, like on a day-to-day basis, I'll never have fruit. But for special occasions, I will. So that was what sort of started me. And then I And then I got back into my cooking. I was always very healthy. So I was always a healthy girl at school. And I was always quite health conscious, but the wrong sort of health conscious, right? I was like the low fat calorie counting, kill myself till I burn 600 calories on the cross trainer after school sort of thing. I wasn't healthy in my mind, body and soul. Anyway, I was like the marketing healthy. So then, I was in London. I started getting really healthy again, but actually healthy this time, having lots more fats, having less rice and all those sort of the grains that can be really disruptive to your gut. Anyway, and less quote unquote natural sugar. And that was sort of what led me onto my journey. And I was putting up pictures of my food on Snapchat back when Snapchat was like a thing, was putting it up on there. And one of my friends, actually, Steph, she said to me, can you just start a blog so I can stop asking you for recipes? And I was like, yeah, why the fuck don't I? So I did. And I started a blog. I traveled around Europe for a month with my girlfriends from Sydney. And I stayed sugar-free the whole time except for a bit of gelato in Italy, because it would actually be fucking rude not to do that. And that would be like just unhealthy to go to Europe, go to Italy and then not eat any ice cream. Like that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Anyway, and then so then I started my blog when I got back to Melbourne from my gap year, started it, and it was all going really well, and I just became more and more interested in my health. Anyway, and then fast forward a little bit, I broke it with my boyfriend at the time, and so I was like, oh, no point being on the pill anymore. So I went off the pill, and this is sort of where things went a little bit downhill. I went off the pill, and I was so effing skinny. At the time, I didn't actually realize how skinny I was, right? At the time, I thought I needed to be skinnier. I was still in the mindset of like losing weight, getting fitter, getting leaner, but I was, and looking back on pictures, I was just like, I'm like, holy effing shit. I was like skin and bone. But the thing was, it wasn't intentional. So the thing was that I was actually eating so much food, more than what I eat now. So much food, but it was going in one end and straight out the other. Basically coming off the pill, my body lost all of its hormones. So I was making no progesterone and no estrogen. I was making a little bit of testosterone, but even still, it was such a low level. And when I got these test results back, I was like, holy shit, like they were dangerously low. So I started working on my stress levels. I'd had quite a bit of stress at the same time. Sorry, I'm just trying to get a little more comfortable. My leg is like breaking. I started working on my stress levels. I started just trying to eat like a ton more fat in my food, good fats, of course, and carbs. And that combo is what can help you pop on a little bit of weight. So I basically needed to just put on weight, right? And it took me so long. It took me 18 months to get my first period back. I was doing herbs and all that sort of stuff, but to be honest, I don't really think that herbs helped me that much. I think it might have done a little bit of something, kickstarted a little bit, but honestly, I really needed to just fucking get my weight back on because it was insane how skinny I was, and fix my brain because my HPA axis was just screaming danger, danger, danger to my body. So once I fixed that, I got my period back, and that was the end of 2017. Can I point in just there? I also have seen the effect that men have on women's cycles in a good way. And I actually really believe that my boyfriend that I got like second half of 2017, I actually reckon that he had such a big part to play in my hormones. When I first met him, I didn't have my period still. And you know, when I was with him, then my hormones were coming back. So I believe, for obvious reasons, like we're talking orgasms, sex, just being around men and all those endorphins and the oxytocin and the serotonin and stuff, I actually really believe that being around men plays a really, really big role. And I've seen it for quite a few women and for myself, and just boosting your libido and stuff. And if your libido is higher, then of course, you know, nothing plays a role by itself. It's all interconnected. So I got my period back for about 2 cycles. And then I got really horrendous quinsy. So I actually had tonsillitis. And I've never had tonsillitis before, but it was so bad that I couldn't kill it naturally and I was unable to breathe. So I had to go on antibiotics, which didn't make me happy because I'd been on a ton of antibiotics before that. Oh, I have something I missed out was I had, actually I'll go back to that in a second. So I went on antibiotics for my tonsillitis. It didn't go away. So I then actually ended up a week later getting quinsy. Quinsy, if you Google it, maybe don't go on images. Basically, it's like your tonsils get so inflamed that they start just like filling with pus, and it was fucking foul. Like I can't even tell you, it was the grossest thing ever. And I thought it was just like the tonsillitis had come back, but it wasn't going away, and everybody was kind of blowing me off. But it was like, as in my family and friends and boyfriend, and everyone was like blowing me off, and I was like literally dying. And I was like, something is actually wrong. Anyway, I had to go to the hospital then because I was so unable to breathe. So I went to the hospital and they put me on steroids and all that crap, and nothing worked. So I came back. Anyway, they ended up, being like, okay, it's Quincy. And they had to fucking drain my tonsils. It was butt fucking foul. Like I can't even tell you. It was like a needle in my throat, and they would, oh my God, I have full goosebumps, and they were draining it. It was so disgusting. So the stress from that made me lose my period again. I'm very sensitive to stress. It made me lose my period again. So I lost it again. I didn't get it for a month, and I thought it was going to come back. But then we all went away, me and my family, for an amazing ski trip. And on the second fucking skiing day, I had a really horrendous ski accident, and I was then in hospital, and I lost my period again. As soon as it happened, I was like, right, there goes my period. Like, not as like a damsel in distress moment, but like I just knew like my body's very sensitive to stress, and my period was just so sensitive because it's only just coming back. Anyway, so I had a really horrendous ski accident. And basically, what happened was I'm a certified ski instructor, like I know how to ski, but a snowboarder actually hit me, and my bindings, I think, were on too tight. So everybody please go check your bindings next time you go skiing. I think my bindings were too tight because otherwise my ski boot should have popped out. But basically it didn't, and my knee twisted, and my ACL ripped off a chunk of my tibia, which is like my shin bone. It ripped off a chunk of that bone, which is fucking insane. But my ACL didn't rip. It just ripped off the bone, like wild. Anyway, partial tear in my MCL. I had a fluid pocket, enamel damage, and cartilage damage. So that was a fun 7-hour operation. And that was on Christmas Eve that happened. So that was a real bummer. The pain that I was in was beyond excruciating. I can't even explain how horrendous it was. It was the pain where you do want to die. It was the pain, actually. It was a sort of pain where I thought from this amount of pain, you would be knocked out. When people are in that much pain, their body knocks themselves out. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, why hasn't my body knocked me out yet? Like, that's the amount of pain I was in. It was absolutely wild. Anyway, so that was not fun. So I had a big operation then, and I was on a ton of drugs, like absolute explosive amount. And that took me a really long time to recover. So I was in a wheelchair for about a month. We stayed in the ski resort whilst I wasn't actually allowed to fly home. And my family kept skiing, and I sort of tried to put up with it as best I could. It was really, really emotionally challenging and mentally challenging and physically challenging and spiritually challenging. I'm lucky that I do have such a strong belief that I trust in the universe, and I do believe everything happens for a reason. I've seen it time and time again in my life. And honestly, I don't know how people live not believing that everything happens for a reason, because that's just a pretty like shitty approach to be having every day of your life. Every time something goes wrong, you're like, fuck the universe. Like, what the hell? Anyway, so it was really, really hard, but we're getting there. So I was in a wheelchair for a month, and I was on crutches for another month and a half. They told me that I was going to be unable to wait there for 3 months, and I kept saying to the surgeon, nah. Like I kept just being like, nah, I'm going to be faster than that. I'm going to be faster than that. And he was like, you actually can't be. Like, that's how long it's going to take to heal. But of course, with the power of my brain and my really, really healthy diet and lots of bone broth and stuff, I did heal faster. So I was off crutches about 3 weeks before I was meant to be, which was fantastic. And slowly getting back into it. God, learning how to walk was the hardest thing in my life. If you've experienced this, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But your brain's just like, just walk, Monica. But like, you actually can't. Like, it's the weirdest thing. Like, I'd put my leg down, and it would just like full on, like I couldn't put weight through it. Like it's incredible how amazing. That's just why I love brains. It's incredible how your brain operates. Anyway, so I had that ski accident. And then about like my 4th month in from my ski accident, I got an abscess in my incision. So as my incision was healing, which is like the scar on my leg now, this hole started to form. Basically, my body rejected one of the stitches and it was creating a big fat hole in my leg, which was great. The pictures are absolutely foul, so I'm not going to post them anywhere. But actually, if you were a follower back then, you would have seen them, because I did post the pictures. But basically it was like this massive hole in my leg. Like you could stick your finger in it. You could see like my flesh. It was disgusting. And I tried to, it wasn't infected though, which was the great thing. It wasn't actually infected. So I kept it uninfected. Is that a word? Uninfected? I don't know. Anyway, and I didn't go on antibiotics for anything, even though the doctor was like, you have to go on antibiotics, you have to go on antibiotics. I was like, why? And they were like, and I was like, is it infected? And they're like, no, and I'm like, right, so I'm not going to go on antibiotics, because my argument is if you go on antibiotics, like it's just going to lower my immune system more. And my immune system's already so low from all of the antibiotics I've been on in hospital and all the drugs I've been on. Why would I throw more of an immune suppressant into my body? It's only going to make it more likely that it gets infected. Anyway, so we tried to allow it to heal slowly, naturally, but it wasn't. It was just getting bigger and bigger, and it wasn't getting infected. It was just getting bigger. And my surgeon in America, whom I love so effing much, his name is Jeffrey Orr. I need to give him a shout out because he's the best. He's in Lake Tahoe. If any of you have a ski accident in Lake Tahoe, he is your man. He was the one that actually said to me, even if you allow it to heal naturally, you're going to have more of a big scar than if they cut it out and redo the surgery, because then you'll have a line like you already do. So basically I was like, okay, let's just do the surgery. I gave in, not even gave in. I wasn't giving in. I just realized that I had to keep going back to the hospital every 2 days to get the dressing changed. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, this is ridiculous. So I got another surgery, and at the same time, they tore through my scar tissue in my knee because my flexion and extension was really, really bad. And my surgeon was a bit worried about it. My American surgeon, Jeff, was a bit worried about it because if you leave the scar tissue for too long without moving it, then you have to get another surgery for them to like burn it or cut it out or something. Anyway, so they also bent my knee fully and straightened it fully in the surgery, which is creepy to think about, which at least tore the scar tissue. So that was my second operation, and I woke up and had to go on crutches for a little bit more, but then, it set me back a little bit, but at least the wound was gone. And that sort of was my ski accident. And then from then on, a ton of rehab, learning how to walk again, just getting all my strength back, getting my body back, lowering my cortisol. I got my period back about 6 months after my ski accident, and I have had it ever since then, which has been great. It's tough for me to hold on to. I've had 1 month where I was really stressed and I didn't get it. But that's sort of my journey with my period. And really, between the first time I lost my period when I came off the pill, the first time I lost it, I was just wanting to know, why did I lose my period? Like, what is the reason here? And I was trying to figure out like what was going on with my body. So I started doing a lot of research, and I was like, holy shit, there is this whole world that nobody has taught me about. There is barely much education about this at school. All we're really told about at school is like, we get a period and it can, you can fall pregnant basically by looking at a boy. Like, it's just so much fear placed in our minds, right? And before I went on the pill, I had horrendous periods. Like this is the reason why I went on the pill, was because my periods were so horrendous, I couldn't deal with it. Like, I would sit on the toilet and the blood would gush out of me. My periods were so heavy, I couldn't even wear tampons. I had to wear maternity pads. And even then, I'd have a maternity pad on for 20 minutes and then I'd have to change it again. Like, it was horrific, right? But nobody told me, oh, it's estrogen dominance, or, oh, let's look at the food you're eating, or the stress, or all these other things in your body, or let's do some natural things. It was just like, let's stick you on the pill and then it will lighten your period. Well, it lightened my period so fucking much I lost it. Like, anyway, and FYI, ladies, quickly I'll point in, the bleed that you get when you're on the pill is not a period. Anyway, so through that first year, that was what made me get really interested in periods, and I just got obsessed with it, and I was like, this is what I want to do. This is 100% what I want to do in my life. And then the second time I lost my period, it was again reaffirming just how much I am so passionate about this and learning more and more about this. And I just kept studying and studying and studying and understanding as much as I could about periods. And here I am now. And obviously in that time as well, gone to uni, I've studied my life coaching certificate. So I'm like ICF certified, all that jazz. And here I am now teaching women about their periods and hormones and health and self-confidence and sex and all that life stuff that we deal with. Side note, Monica actually means to advise and counselor. So that is super random, but I don't even think it's random. I think it's absolutely perfect how that has worked out. I guess some other little side note things that you ladies might be interested in is that I think at one point I actually had a bit of endometriosis. I used to get such painful periods. So when I was on my gap year, I would wake up in the middle of the night with like stabbing pains in my uterus. I'd have really, really painful sex. I remember one time I was having sex and I just started screaming with pain, and that was fun for him. Anyway, and then when I fixed my diet and quit sugar and stuff, it all went away. So I have dealt with a bit of everything. I've dealt with the bad periods, dealt with the painful sex, dealt with the endo, dealt with the really, really heavy periods, dealt with all the surgery and the inflammation and going from really skinny to then having my curves back and how that affected my brain as well and what I was thinking about myself and my self-confidence. But honestly, some of the things that my ski accident is the biggest blessing. I have had the biggest 2018, like just so much growth, and the whole process was just me needing to trust so much. Hence, I now have trust tattooed on my ribs. But one of the biggest things that really one of the biggest lessons for 2018 for me personally was that at the time of something, you're like, oh my God, this is taking forever. So for example, for me to get my strength back, for me to get toned again, for me to, when I had my ski accident, I put on a lot of cortisol weight, not a lot. It was just that I started getting cellulite on my stomach. Now in my family, the girls, we all naturally carry our weight in our bums and hips. And we have very flat stomachs. It's easy for us to like get a toned stomach and we don't carry weight in our stomach. But from my ski accident, all the cortisol is just sat on my stomach. And I'll explain in another episode why this happens, why your body stores fat around your stomach when you've got high cortisol, which is your stress hormone. Oh, sorry, I'm just like doing hiccup. Your stress hormone. But yeah, like I'm in a hospital, right? And if you look at like videos and stuff, like I've lost muscle and weight on my arms and my legs, but then you can see like my stomach, like it hasn't, like it's inflamed as fuck. Anyway, that was also all the drugs and my liver working really hard. So at the time when I was trying to get my fitness back, I'm like, oh my God, why is this taking so long? I can't fit into like, my shorts are tight, my skirt's tight, nothing fits me. I don't feel confident in any of my clothes. Like I'm so puffy and inflamed and all this shit. And at the time you're like, when the fuck is this going to end? But honestly, time flies, one. And two, like, I don't know how to say it, but basically at the time, that's what you think. But like 2018 has gone so quickly, and now I'm back to doing Pilates, being able to walk, I'm getting my old body back. But you know what? It's taught me so much that your confidence comes from within. And I know everybody says this, but this is something I'm really passionate about now with teaching women. And my approach is a little bit different. It's not stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself I love you. It's just getting to the core of the shit, but also just being super real about it. Like the real facts were I had a horrific ski accident. I was on heavy as fuck drugs. Could anybody expect me to be looking like a Victoria's Secret model? No, I had no circulation because I lost half of my lymphatic system. I had serious nerve damage. I had horrendous, emotional trauma and stuff from it as well. I was losing sleep. Like everything was frustrating and stressful, and my body was really, really trying to heal. So nobody can expect me to have ripped abs and toned arms. Anyway, it was actually just my ski accident that has really been the biggest lesson in terms of self-confidence and self-love. And I know self-love can sound like a bit of a cheesy word sometimes, but it's just the confidence within yourself. And I've never been able to, stand in front of never before my ski accident and I'd been able to like stand in front of a man fully naked and be really comfortable, or be like, yeah, let's have sex with the lights on and be really comfortable. And now since my ski accident, since getting my curves back and getting my period back, it's funny how now I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so much more confident. Yet if I looked at my body this time last year, I still had a bit more weight to gain before I get my period back. And not this time last year, the year before, like 2017, right? At my skinniest, I wasn't my most confident, which everybody says, but honestly, I can tell you it really was not my most confident, because confidence comes from your brain. It doesn't come from like how big your thighs are. And obviously I have some days better than others, but I've really learned to appreciate like the fact that I can take myself to the bathroom, that I can make my own lunch, that I can walk up the stairs, that I can, I'm not walking around in crutches. To me, being able to use my two legs is the biggest blessing. That if I'm having a bad day and I'm like, oh, my thighs are fat, I'm like, yeah, but at least I have thighs that work, that allow me to like do Pilates and yoga and walk and go to the beach and swim and have fun and dance and jump. You know what I mean? So that's sort of one of the lessons that I learned with my ski accident. And obviously I learned tons more lessons. I actually wrote a blog post on this. But, one of the other lessons was definitely like trusting in the process, because I've made so many amazing friends since my ski accident. I've learned a ton. But also the biggest thing that I've learned, and one of the reasons why I have the snowflake tattoo on my wrist, is that at the time, I just thought my life was going to come to a halt. I was like, great, I can't work now. I can't do my bender events, which is like these yoga events that I do. I can't do all of this stuff, right? And I was like, fuck this, and I just thought that my whole life was going to be put on hold. But I actually proved to myself that when whatever you think you're not capable of, oh my God, you are capable of more than you could ever imagine. Like, I would sit at my desk and I would have my leg up. It'd have its ice or whatever the hell it had on it. I was running events. I was phoning people. I was doing coaching calls. I was doing Instagram lives. I was holding workshops whilst I was like incapacitated. So it really, really proved to me that whatever you set your mind to, you can absolutely do. And whatever you think that you can't do, or if you don't think you're capable of it, I'm telling you, you are capable of going through so much more pain emotionally, physically, mentally, than you ever think is possible. I promise you. Like, we as human beings are so incredibly strong. It fucking blows my mind all the time. Anyway, I don't want to rant on too much and make it too much about the Monica show. This first episode is the fucking Monica show, because I just want you guys to get to know me. But basically, to give you a little rundown of what the podcast is going to be about. So it's going to be about, I've said it in the intro, but vaginas, sex, periods, health, food, self-confidence, relationships like with yourself and with others, how to communicate effectively, basically the stuff that I go through in life coaching and also my period coaching. So a little bit of everything. The podcasts aren't going to be necessarily an hour long or anything, or necessarily have guests in them. The point is for me to be able to talk to you guys and educate you more without having to be like fully presentable all the time and jumping on Instagram lives. And it means that you guys, though, and most importantly, it means that you guys can access me in the car, when you're going for walks, when you're making dinner. It's a little bit more accessible than, say, YouTube or Instagram lives. So hence I wanted to make this for you as well, so that you can hear more about what I have to say and learn more from me. Because what I'm here to do is to teach you all and to help you all. So there is no strict sort of guide that I'm going off for how I'm going to run this podcast. Honestly, my intern was asking me about that last night, and I was just saying, I'm just going to flow with it. My goal is to be releasing one a week. I think I'll figure out the day as I go along, and then we'll get into a bit of a routine. But my goal is to release one a week, but I don't want to have to make this a pushing exercise, because if I'm pushing with giving information, then it's going to be boring for you guys, and it's boring for me, and it becomes a chore. And your subconscious can tell if I'm fucking bored, or you can tell if I'm pushing, and then the episodes aren't going to be as engaging for you guys, and I want it to be engaging. So it's going to be a flow process. I'm going to be recording them when I feel inspired or when something comes to my mind. We're aiming for a podcast a week. Don't know how long each is going to be. I feel like some are going to be 15 minutes and some are going to be like 45 minutes, because, we never know how long Monica's going to talk for. I might bring guests on in the future. I've got a few people in mind that are really, really specialized in their field that I'm not so specialized in. it wouldn't be about periods or something. It would be something about like a particular food group that I'm not as specialized in. So I might bring on experts for that. But otherwise, it's really just the opportunity for me to educate you guys and for you guys to hear more about the stuff that I teach about. So that, I think, is pretty much it for today. Please, ladies, subscribe to the podcast, obviously, so that you can get all the updates and whatever. And I would really, 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 really appreciate it if you could leave a review so that more people can jump on, listen to it, that sort of stuff. And then I can just basically teach more women, because that's the goal here. But most importantly, please send me anything that you want me to talk about. So if you've got specific questions, topic ideas, all that, you can DM me on Instagram, or you can go on my website and fill out my contact form, or you can send me an email, hello@monicayates.com.au, and just make the subject podcast idea or something like that so I can search for it easily, because I obviously want to be talking about the things that you guys want to hear about. So send me all of that. And otherwise, I hope you have a great day or evening, wherever, blah, blah, blah. That was good. Hey, I'm not going to delete that. We're going to keep shit real. I need to get out of this doona because I'm so fucking hot. I can't even explain it. And it's actually quite mild in Sydney today. So on like a 35-degree day, I don't think I'm going to be able to record a podcast. Or if I am, you may get a little bit of echo in the background. Sorry, not sorry. And also, if you have a friend, a family member, or even a boyfriend that you think would learn a few things off my podcast, I would love, love, love for you to please share it with them. Because as I've said 500 times, my goal is just to help as many people in the world as possible. So I have big goals, big dreams, and I would really, really, really appreciate it. Like, you have no idea. You can even send me a screenshot of you sending them a message being like, you got to listen to Monica's podcast, and I will personally thank you. Okay, have a good day wherever you are, and please, please, please pass it forward.